Nor Navio, Clara's quarters. "You are far too pleased with yourself, Clara," Cynthia pointed out as she served her friend a glass of guava juice. The pink, vibrant liquid with small seeds dancing within tickled her taste buds as a sudden thirst manifested in her throat. She couldn't compare to her princess's love for sweetness and other less-than-refined tastes in quality meals. She preferred sweetness, too, perhaps as a byproduct of having spent so much time together. Sitting next to her friend, she filled a glass of her own and quickly moved to drink half of it in a single go. The unfamiliar sweetness of the guava fruit washed her tongue and mouth for a brief moment before the thirst was quenched, thanking her friend's antics and desires to procure some exotic foodstuffs for her personal reserves. Clara, unbothered, picked up the glass and drank from it with almost the same enthusiasm, ending with a loud sigh of satisfaction, followed by her tongue licking her lips. "Is it truly that obvious?" Clara asked with a cheeky grin before taking a more measured yet equally needy sip from her glass. Cynthia was about to reply when, from across the table, a chirpy laugh won the race, and her gaze landed on Jincho. "Obvious? Yes, very. You are a weird one, Pretty Eyes." "Good way," Jincho proclaimed before opening his beak, throwing his head back slightly, and then pouring some of the juice into it. All 6 eyes widened as he kept loudly drinking it until it was all gone. Then, not content with that, he brought the glass to the side of his beak only to lick the remnants of the juice. Cynthia narrowed her eyes at the display. "There's more if you want another serving, insolent creature," she said, grabbing the shimmering jar's handle. "Many thanks." "More, please," Jincho asked, presenting his empty glass. As Cynthia refilled it, he continued. "Insolent creature? Terrible. Will not accept that. Be creative, imaginative. Try again." Cynthia's glare intensified, but she said nothing as Jincho drank his second glass, only for her to refill it again when he was done. Seemingly satisfied for the moment, she waited until he put his glass on the table to turn to her amused, smiling, blonde friend. "Must you entertain his antics?" Slowly, Clara reached for Cynthia's shoulder, staring deep into her soul before replying. "Yes." "Julius preserved my sanity," Cynthia complained before drinking the rest of her juice while the blonde princess let out a laugh and retrieved her hand. Serving herself another glass, she exhaled through her nose soundly. "Hungry Eyes wishes to devour me," said the Akanti engineer with a mirthful tone in his voice. "Keep dreaming." "Not a good meal." Clara ignored her friend's sudden wave of annoyance in favor of focusing on Jincho and what she needed from him. "As much as I enjoy taking advantage of my bodyguard's immense patience, tell me, Jincho, are the refreshments to your liking?" "Very," came his reply. "All Akanti like fruits. I prefer meats and seeds, but fruits good. Sweet, rich, tasty. Can't go wrong," he said before taking some roasted seeds, nuts, and a wriggling worm from a few plates in front of him. He ate them with gusto, finishing them with a large drink of his juice. "So, Pretty Eyes, why call me? Dissatisfied with Roaring Thunder's fix?" "Quite the contrary, my dear Jincho. I am beyond pleased with your work. So much so, in fact, that I don't know what will be a suitable reward to show my appreciation correctly," Clara said, smiling happily as she recalled the 2 hours she spent inspecting every inch of Maximilian's restored fighter. So little had survived that she honestly thought that nothing short of a full replacement would be suitable. Still, her favorite Akanti had not only managed to recreate Maximilian's fighter with an ease that the technician-in-chief described as disgustingly effortless with the remains. He even ensured that the original parts were preserved as their own distinct pieces. It would never be more than a showpiece, unable to fly or fight again, but preserved to the best of his abilities, which were, quite frankly, impressive to say the least. More importantly, above all other possible reasons or considerations, it was hers to keep and own. Oh, how she wished to sit inside the cockpit and just for a few minutes pretend she could fly it. "Bah! Gratitude is unnecessary. You let me work and do what I want. What I'm best at, no need for further payment. Already is enough. Enjoyed working and repairing it. Over-designed yet powerful. Unique. Many secrets uncovered. Ideas to consider. Applied. First prototypes will be ready tomorrow," Jincho declared giddily. "Wormbrain will pilot, yes?" Clara asked, doing her best impression of Jincho. "Indeed. Any pilot will do. But can only trust him to test my new work. Only 5% chance it'll explode in Sillumations. Need real tests for more data," the engineer agreed eagerly. He will provide you with all the data you want and more. It is most certain that it will be so, Clara replied. Then her expression shifted to her diplomatic, cold-as-ice mask. Jincho noticed the shift in the atmosphere, watching her curiously with all 6 eyes. Jincho, you've done so much, not only for me but for the Principality ever since you came aboard the Nornavio. Now I ask more of you, for I have no one else to turn to in search of answers. Will you help a nation that owes you much already but can't recognize your genius and contributions? Will you be willing to speak truthfully within your knowledge? Oh! Jincho blinked all 6 eyes simultaneously. This is a serious matter. Very well, Pretty Eyes. Ask, and I shall answer to the best of my abilities. Your nation may not be ideal for my people, but it is much better than the hierarchy. We're friends, are we not? If I can help you, I will. Clara turned to Cynthia and gave her a small nod. The blue eyes of her bodyguard flickered for a moment before the screen came to life. State secrets? Jincho asked, but Clara shook her head. On the screen, the Akanti watched an altered recording depicting the execution of Frederick Anderson. When it ended, he watched another recording, the real one, showing the man's brains leaking out of his nostrils, eyes, and ears as a horrible, messy, gruel-like liquid. The only correlation between the 2 videos was the fate of the traitor nobleman. Suspects? The Akanti asked. Everyone and no one, Clara replied with a frustrated sigh. My brother dearest has ordered several investigations, but the result is the same. Nothing. We know Frederick was executed by other traitor elements hiding after his failed assassination attempt. It is the how that eludes us like a most skilled thief performing parlor tricks to distract our attention, while daggers find their way to the back of our heads. Is there more data I can analyze? He asked. Cynthia turned her left arm around before a small data chit was launched out. She caught it between her fingers and presented it to the Akanti. Jincho took it and, without hesitation, pressed the right side of his skull, an inch above and behind his eye. A small slit appeared when a small segment of his skin moved up. The princess and her bodyguard stared at the revelation with wide eyes, with the former in particular taken aback. You're a cyborg? Cynthia asked, saving her friend from embarrassing herself. Not precisely. These augmentations are of my own doing, Jincho replied, gently patting the top of his head. Then he connected the chit to the slit. His eyes narrowed for a full second before he retrieved the chit, handing it back to Cynthia. I've seen this before. 2 times. In records. What you witnessed is an execution method reserved for traitors within the highest echelons of the Arabian Commonwealth. Preposterous, Cynthia countered, frowning. There are no records of them being able to do such a thing. Thousands of Arabian agents, pirates, infiltrators, and operatives have been captured and found dead over the centuries. None have been found in similar conditions. When was the last time the Principality actively went on the offensive against the Arabian Commonwealth? Jincho asked, tilting his head slightly as the gap closed itself as if it was never there in the first place. Your information is outdated and minimal on the micro scale. Sure, you have agents there and sponsored pirates, right? But they are on the outskirts of their territory, nowhere near close to their leaders, or should I say, their nobility. Cynthia lowered her head slightly before letting out a repressed growl. You are right, Jincho. The Principality has always preferred to be more passive in response to the threats around it. Precisely. This is why you don't know this is how the Commonwealth executes those failures and traitors sitting near the top. Examples. Threats. Promises. All served in one extremely painful and cruel platter. But this I know. Frederick Anderson was murdered in a way practiced by the Arabians. Worse, whoever did it is a technological expert with unknown means at their disposal and likely is a master of misdirection, lies, manipulation, infiltration, and a plethora of other skills that escape my knowledge, said the Akanti in a disturbingly serious tone. Jincho, I cannot express sufficiently how imperative it is for you to be absolutely and unequivocally assured when you answer my following question, Clara began, leaning forward, her purple eyes somehow managing to pierce through all 6 of his eyes. Is it possible that the traitors responsible for shoving House Anderson into my uncle's embrace are Arabians? Jincho opened his beak, allowing his thin tongue to extend out slightly as he tilted his head from side to side slowly for the better part of a full minute. He closed his beak abruptly, then nodded. Considering the method of execution, I wouldn't discard the high probability that one or more Erebian agents are working within the traitor's ranks. Despite this, I doubt your uncle is actively employing them. Truly, I believe he is unaware that there are Erebian agents within his ranks moving strings, weeding plants, picking fruits. He must be aware of the danger they pose. Why win only to let the Erebians do as they please? No, the Commonwealth is hardly overt at the best of times. But this? Not the way they do things. He stopped for a moment as he peered deeply into Clara's eyes. Pretty eyes, I can't confirm that whoever killed the traitor Anderson are Erebians. Can't confirm or deny the existence of a group or a single operative at play. What I can say without fear of being wrong is that they must be extremely familiar with Erebian methods. My guess? A singular agent with a particular set of skills is responsible. Why do all this without the Erebians making a move? Unsure. Perhaps the agent is acting not only alone, but divorced from the Commonwealth. A traitor among traitors? Cynthia scoffed, not at the suggestion, but at the idea that those loyal to Duke Cornelius would be too blind to detect such a snake among them. Are we not equally at fault, Cynthia? We failed as much as they did, Clara remarked on her friend's thoughts and emotions. Speculation is all I can offer with the information I have, Pretty Eyes. What objectives and goals motivate such a creature? I can't fathom an answer. Tell your brother of this. Tell him to be wary. If the agent has not been captured, whether they are an Erebian or not, then havoc will come. How? When? Not know. Only that it will come to him, came his warning, deep and sincere. For a split moment, the color drained from Clara's face, but it passed quickly. Thank you, Jincho. Sincerely, thank you. I wouldn't take kindly to the loss of my brother dearest. It isn't definitive proof, but it is more than we have now. I'll ensure that you're properly rewarded for your aid. Before she could say anything more, Jincho stood up, walked around the table, and then, without hesitation or the smallest crumble of shame, reached with his arms around her, hugging her tightly while she remained seated. The blue-haired woman stared openly at the display, a hand gripping the handle of her blade instinctively, while the princess blinked in confusion. The awkward moment lasted for several seconds, until Jincho let go, patting Clara's head 2 times before stepping back. What was that supposed to be? Clara asked, confused, bewildered, and surprised all at once. Emotional support embrace, Jincho declared in his usual cheerful, unserious tone. Different for Yikanti and humans. Not expert. Don't pay much attention. Not worth paying attention to most of the time. But not now. Pretty Eyes and Hungry Eyes are friends. Helped? He asked before turning to Cynthia. Want emotional support embrace? Can give, just promise no broken bones? Suddenly Clara burst out laughing as Cynthia let go of her sword and looked at Jincho as if he were a particularly unpleasant stain on a silk curtain. Eventually, though, her lips morphed into a tiny smile as Clara tried her best to control herself. Taking her smile for an answer, the blue-haired woman begrudgingly allowed the Yikanti to awkwardly embrace her, also ending with 2 pats on her head. No repayment needed, Jincho declared. Let me work. Is all I ask for. Happiest when I do. Regaining her control, Clara smiled, offering a fist to Jincho. The Yikanti's vestigial wings flapped happily before bumping fists with her. It was a sign of friendship for all Yikanti, with the one initiating it announcing that the relationship was strong and mutual if accepted. Need more of my genius? More projects to work on? Jincho asked. Not at the moment, Jincho. You can return to your work, declared the princess. Then, she watched as the rambunctious ball of surprises and uncontrollable energy quickly drank the rest of his juice, stored the rest of his offered snacks in his available pockets, including the wriggling worms, and then left without her giving the door the command to open. Her smile widened as she moved closer to Cynthia, enough to rest against her slightly. Then she let out a long, tired sigh. I had hoped that he didn't know anything, leaving us blinded to what lurks beneath murky waters. What is worse, Cynthia? To wish for ignorance or contemplate the realization of your fears made manifest so you can act to defend yourself from the horror? Willful ignorance is always the greater evil, Clara, Cynthia replied sincerely and firmly. A few moments later, she let out an empty, dark chuckle. Being a princess never gets easier, does it? The totem must remain strong yet flexible to allow change to come. A rigid totem can only fall, the blonde woman replied, shaking her head. I miss my father. My brother dearest wishes to carry on his dreams through blood and strife until they are realized. She clenched her hands into fists. Damn him, Cynthia. Damn Uncle Cornelius. Why? Every speech, every lesson, every deed, now empty and devoid of meaning? You have to stop thinking about him, Clara. It hurts me too, but he's a traitor. His forces nearly killed us. He won't hesitate to eliminate Redford, you, me, or the prince if given the chance. Whatever drove him to treason, it is beyond your control. There is no need for you to carry such a heavy burden, the blue-eyed woman said with a soft, tender, pleading tone. Clara rested her head on Cynthia's shoulder, a familiar gesture sorely needed. I know, Cynthia. I know. Yet I can't help myself. I can only promise to try, she sighed. It won't be a difficult task focusing on other problems. Tamarin and Andrew Cayston will respond to the humiliation they suffered. Tamarin is the most dangerous and simultaneously the most predictable and difficult to counter. We need more allies and forces to call upon. We still don't know who is behind the black ships. I was so assured of my victory that I failed to properly read Felicity's hidden intentions, resulting in the traitors spreading the unaltered footage of the gallant venture. At least they don't have access to Wyatt's incendiary remarks. And now it is revealed that the headless viper spawned another head and is ready to strike my brother dearest? She sighed again, dejectedly. I hate this with a burning passion that threatens to burst out of my chest, and there's so little I can actually do. There you go again, Clara. Not everything can be within your grasp. You're neither omniscient nor omnipotent. Be thankful that you aren't, she said before gently resting her head against her friend's. Her princess replied with a soft hum. Long, silent moments passed in a comfortable calmness until she broke the peace, noticing that Clara's breathing had returned to normal. You know you can speak his name, Clara. There's no one but us to hear it, and no ill repercussions will follow. I know, Clara replied with a tiny smile on her lips. But I won't. He's the prince. He renounced his name. It wouldn't be proper of me to utter his name even in private. Cynthia matched her smile. What's this? No joking remarks or playful prods trying to coax me into uttering his name? Maybe another time, countered the princess. Now stay still. Your armor makes for a terrible pillow, but I like it. The blue-haired woman chuckled but said nothing in return, choosing to let her friend relax for as long as she needed it. Eternal Garden retrofitted communication lounge. What more must I do for you to be pleased, Tuzia? Salazar Reed asked as he stared at the neutral face of his wife. However, her eyes were burning with displeasure. I've received commendations for my participation in the battle. The shame I've brought upon our house will not be mended so easily, but it is a start that few can boast about. Tuzia Reed pursed her lips as her gray, cybernetic eyes narrowed with contempt. You flatter yourself too much, Salazar. Everyone received commendations and notes of distinction. Even the floor-licking commoners. She made a displeased clicking sound with her tongue before continuing. And you didn't receive any singular medal or distinction of merit. You call this a victory? Salazar's eyes narrowed slightly, containing the urge to yell at his wife. His volatile temper had gotten him in trouble many times in the past. He could now see his past mistakes clearly. It was an uphill battle, but one that he was more than capable of climbing. I call it a first step. My shame cannot be fixed nor forgiven so easily. Vassort isn't an easy man to please, but he recognizes effort when he sees it. That's why he ordered you to call me, did he not? He asked, watching with satisfaction as the stunning features of his wife contorted before she was forced to nod once. Be that as it may, Salazar, you're far, far away from earning the forgiveness of Vassort or Vashakati. Our sons refuse to hear your name, but the shame they feel toward their father has diminished, Tuzia sighed, shaking her head. By the will of the first prince, Julius Astor himself, my efforts to quell the rumor mill and the poisonous words whispered behind our backs have resulted in success. Only the lower rungs and unimportant rabble-rousing incompetent idiots speak of your blunder with any volume now. Even then, their voices are dying out. What would you do without me, I wonder? Grovel? Cower? Or perhaps you'll shout at the problem, thinking that will solve it somehow? Salazar straightened his posture. I'm glad that my wife is a caring and capable woman. Tuzia was momentarily stunned by his response, but the moment passed quickly. Flattery was never your forte, Salazar. Regardless, seeing you was the least of my concerns. Vassort's command gave the excuse to tell you this. Forget about Wyatt Staples. Don't seek further conflict with him. Salazar sighed tiredly. Didn't I tell you before that I wouldn't entertain the idea of plotting against Baron Staples' life? The duel marked his victory, and our grudge was settled. His gaze intensified as he focused on his wife's face. However, why do you make such a request now? I know how vindictive you can be, Tuzia. For you to back away from your previous claims, he said, letting the unfinished implication hang in the unmeasurable space between them. Tuzia's left eye twitched slightly before closing her eyes for a moment, leaning back on her seat. What do you take me for, Salazar? A blind fool, perhaps? She scoffed. I've seen what that man is capable of. Everyone has. I will not allow a greater humiliation to befall House Reed. A mocking smirk appeared on her lips. Now I understand why that man was able to beat you. Salazar hummed deeply, wishing to counter his wife's remark, but chose against it. Instead, he frowned, earning a laugh from the brown-haired woman. My, where is that fiery bravado of yours, dear husband? Tuzia questioned, each word rubbing salt on the wound. Has he truly reduced you to this vestige of the honorable and dignified man I married? Was that man an illusion, and now I see you for the pathetic man you were always trying to hide beneath an armor of fake posturing? Salazar remained silent for several seconds, his gaze held against his wife's until she sneered at him, and with one last disgruntled click of her tongue, ended the call. Standing up, he straightened his uniform and stepped out of the communication chamber. To his right, he spotted a 10-year-old child wearing a simple auxilia uniform. His extensive burns had healed, his face was fixed, and his damaged eye had been restored. There were some minor scars on his neck and face, but they would be gone with minor treatments in the coming weeks. More importantly, his black hair was starting to grow back. Ungal, let's go, ordered Salazar as the kid eagerly nodded and came to his side. They exited the busy lounge only to find themselves in an ample hallway, one clearly neither built nor by humans. It felt disgusting stepping on a filthy Drazen ship, even if it had been captured and liberated from the Xenos infestation. Eventually, they reached an elevator, eager to return to the Nornavio and check on his unit's progress. The doors opened, revealing a menial commoner operating the controls and two uniformed men already inside. His eyes widened for a moment before saluting. Wyatt and Galt stepped out of the elevator, the former holding a datapad. Salazar, Wyatt greeted, returning the salute. Galt followed in his example, and soon their hands lowered. His eyes moved to Ungal and raised an eyebrow. I see you decided to stay, Ungal. Ungal nodded energetically. I don't want to leave, Shipmother. My place was earned. Galt forced himself to smile at the pirate kid, reminding himself that he wasn't a pirate anymore. Won't you miss your friends? Ungal shook his head. Many others remain with Shipmother. They want to stay behind so they can. He turned to Salazar with a vibrant smile. Sergeant is strong. I want to become strong like him and make Shipmother proud. Wyatt turned his attention to Salazar, intrigued by the child's revelation. Ungal is enthusiastic, Lieutenant Commodore. He is young but is eager to learn. With the program imposed by First Lieutenant Galt Tirome, he and the older adolescents will remain under my care and training. They'll be fine auxilia forces, Salazar explained. As you were, Sergeant, Galt said, dismissing the man. Salazar offered a salute, followed by a poor imitation from Ungal. Then they left. After the elevator's doors closed, he turned to Wyatt. Do you truly believe it is a good idea to let those children stay in your barony, Wyatt? Wyatt nodded. Didn't you say that they were unlikely to embrace the pirate lifestyle after experiencing a better life by their already low standards? I did, Galt admitted, sighing deeply. Forgive me, sir. I spoke without thinking. Wyatt put a hand on Galt's shoulder, ignoring the look some passing nobleman gave them. In your place, I would share your worries, Galt. I'm surprised that Salazar took Ungal under his protection. He doesn't seem to be a man terribly fond of children. I don't understand completely why he made that request, but he's so far demonstrated to be competent in his role as their overseer. At first, I thought he was a socialite officer, but now I believe he earned his previous rank, or at least did most of the work to earn it, Galt confessed. Wyatt retrieved his hand and returned to his datapad as the two resumed walking. Where was I? Yes. I've noticed that all my requests and delivery drops for Newtown are being dispatched with a priority mark, he said, presenting it to Galt. The red-haired man scanned it for no less than a few seconds before a deep ah rumbled from his throat. It would seem that the head officer of the logistical division, Sabraska Kaspars, has been aiding you in whatever capacity she can. She's constantly expressed her approval and admiration for your actions, Wyatt. In that case, I should thank her personally. She's made Elizabeth, Ano, and Rachel's work easier, Wyatt said with a tiny smile. The effort you've put into your provisional barony is exceptional, Wyatt. Not many would bother to invest half as much time at the best of times, Galt chuckled. Not that House Ferentis will do anything to apply the provisional part any time soon, or at all. Wyatt raised an eyebrow in confusion. Lord Istanel is immensely pleased with all the Drazen subjects at his disposal. Although victims may be a more suitable descriptor, that alone is significant. But with the return of Hastrung and everything in it, House Ferentis will do everything in their power to maintain such an amicable relationship. Congratulations are in order, my Lord Baron, he exclaimed with a practiced bow of his head. Wyatt grimaced at the gesture. Please, Galt, don't. I can barely stop Declan from calling me Lord or Baron half the damn time. And I still don't know what to do with him. He can't stay guarding our quarters all the time, can he? Galt smirked before crossing his arms. Perhaps you should ask Commander Redford for aid in that regard, Wyatt. He is of high nobility and head of House Kalen. Perhaps you're right, the pilot replied. Rightful honor, Duke Cornelius' private quarters. Nothing, Cornelius said as he sat before his desk, his expression unreadable while his daughter, Veronica, stood silently next to it. Her expression was stoic, cold, and uncaring. No trace. No clue. No path. My Lord Father, mayhaps grandmother has aided Gabriel, Veronica proposed coldly. Cornelius didn't deign himself to entertain the ghost of the possibility that that was the case. No. Dinah wouldn't aid your brother in hiding or escaping. Among all my supporters and allies, she was the first to join me wholeheartedly. She loves her grandchildren, but loyalty and duty come first. Always have. Taking a deep inhale, he pinched the bridge of his nose, trying to suppress the forming headache. How did he do it? How was my son able to escape Camrim? Cornelius asked himself for the 20th time. As before, no answer came to him. The hoverbike and his discarded clothes were found, but nothing else. His general initial path was easily deduced, and Dinah acted accordingly from there. He had been so certain that Gabriel would make a mistake, enact his authority over commoners, desperately try to board a ship, or, bereft of options and cornered, divulge himself in public, proclaiming his loyalty to his cousin, the prince, as he renounced his father, that finding him would be a trivial thing. Yet he didn't. He found a way to elude patrols, fool security protocols, and leave Camrim. How? 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 Cornelius shouted as he slammed his fist on his desk, cracking its surface. He ignored the worried glance of his daughter, unable to leave that question unanswered. Indeed. How? How had his predictable, short-tempered, uncreative son managed to leave the planet? Discarded was the possibility that he was dead, or worse, hiding in some refuse hole just to spite him. Gabriel was capable of spite, but his spite was always measured and calculated. How was it that the most far-fetched option conceived in his mind turned out to be the correct one? He had failed miserably to stop his son. Now he's out there alone and vulnerable, he said, his rage replaced by guilt and regret. Send me to find him, Father. I promise to find Gabriel and bring him back to you on his knees. He'll beg for your forgiveness, Veronica exclaimed as she knelt before her father. Rest assured, my daughter, your brother will be found, Cornelius declared, dismissing her request with a hand gesture. Once she was on her feet, he continued. I need you by my side, Veronica. I'll order every jump point leading to Arnav territory to be heavily monitored and every ship to be boarded for inspection. His steps are still predictable, he said, then stopped himself, humming deeply. Underestimating his son had cost him dearly once already. Peterson's words rang loudly in his head. Was Gabriel truly not as helpless as he thought? Did he not know his own son as well as he believed? His eyes narrowed as possibilities ran through his mind. Duavani, the same order shall be employed to every jump point leading to Duavani territory. Understood, my Lord Father, Veronica replied with a smile. I live only to serve you. Command me as you wish. Cornelius stared at his daughter for long, silent moments until he stood up. Veronica made no attempt to follow him as he walked over to a counter filled with his favored beverages. He poured himself a large cup of the strongest wine in his collection. The almost black liquid, aptly named Black Dragon, burned his tongue and throat, dealing both satisfaction and pain in equal measure. With an exhale, black, twisting smoke danced past his lips, vanishing mere seconds later. He refilled his cup and sat on a nearby couch. Minutes passed in silence, only occasionally taking a sip of Black Dragon, trying to halt the hundreds of issues he needed to tend to. When he was halfway done with his drink, he reached into his suit, pulling out a slightly wrinkled letter. He'd read it multiple times already, yet that didn't stop him from doing so again. Dear Uncle Cornelius Draymore, it is my sincere hope that this letter reaches you in good faith and in good condition. The man handing you this letter is Captain Ciro Ortega. I implore you that if there is a remnant of the man I admired yet lives within you, you allow him to retire in peace and with the honor he deserves, not in disgrace or labeled as a traitor or coward. That being said, Uncle, I wish I could know what has driven you to launch a coup against your nephew. Are you truly content with my death or that of any of my siblings? Cynthia's? Redford's? How many are you willing to kill to achieve your goal, whatever that may be? What has driven you to such extremes? The Council of Nobles captured and bound. Many of my siblings, your nieces and nephews, are firmly in your clutches. Was I always a liability to your plans? I can't help but wonder. Please, Uncle, stop this madness. I will go to my knees and implore my brother, your nephew, the prince, to spare your life and forget this ever happened if I must. I beg thee, Uncle, stop. And if you won't, then I'm so terribly sorry. For I will not stop nor rest until you capitulate or your cold, dead corpse lies on the floor and your blood stains its carpet. For I promise you this, as long as I live, you will not see victory. It shall be no more than an illusion outside your grasp, a promise unfulfilled, a goal unattainable. If this conflict must end with your demise to prevent greater suffering, then with all the pain in my heart, I shall aid in that outcome for the betterment of the principality. Do not believe that my threats are empty, Uncle. You've seen him by now, the man who saved my life and countless others. The White Periton, the Wraith, the Wolfhound. He is someone I cannot fully control. Spare your forces the ill fate that awaits them if they cross his path. Finally, give my best wishes to Gabriel, as I hope you're treating him kindly, for I doubt he sits by your side, unlike Veronica. With sincerest regret and love, Clara Astor, 2nd Princess of the Astorian Principality. P.S. I believe you will enjoy a baked good called Veshkom. Within this letter there is a small data chit with the recipe. Enjoy it. It pairs most wonderfully with tea and sweet juices. Cornelius folded the letter, safely storing it as a sad smile spread across his lips. If only Joseph would have accepted my proposal to adopt you, Clara, he muttered to himself, barely loud enough for him to hear. He was about to reach for his cup when the doors to his quarters opened. A single servant entered carrying a tray. Resting on it, a blue ribbon with a white dot at each end could be seen. Drink forgotten, he stood up.